Hey friends, let's talk a little bit about substrates. What are you keeping your lizards on? So in a previous video, we talked a little bit about quarantine. And during that time, I recommend that your animals are on newspaper or paper towels so that you can see every fecal, you can see if they've regurgitated anything. But as you get them in your normal collection, they love to dig, and it'd be a shame not to let them do that. And so you can see that we use basically just regular play sand in most of the enclosures. And they still need all the other things. They still need a place to hide the rocks. We have a dry place to hide. And then they need a humid hide that we've talked about in previous videos. And that's just a place with some damp sphagnum or damp paper towel that they can get into. These are animals that do live in the desert, but you're not treating them like a leopard gecko or a bearded dragon. They're not out basking very frequently. In fact, they don't really even need UV as long as they're getting whole prey items. But you can see how we've set this up. They have these lit areas, and so all these cages are connected here. And then this is all dark. This is blacked out. And so when you open this up, this is like a cave for them. So there's the humid hides, and it's really dark area. And then they can go out in the light if they want to, but they really do spend a lot of time in this dark cave-like area. So your damp hide doesn't need to be really large. It's big enough for them to get in and kind of tuck in. So this is for my adults, and it's just filled with slightly damp sphagnum. You shouldn't be able to wring the water out of it. In fact, that's how you should set it up. You should get the sphagnum, get it wet, wring as much water as you can out by squeezing it, and then put it into your damp hide. And mine just have a hole in the top. Some people put a hole in the side, whatever works. They can find their way out of these, no problem. That goes in my case, I put it in the darkest part of the cage so that they feel like they've crawled into the dampest part of the environment that's available to them. So this is what I use for the babies. It's just a small Rubbermaid container, hole cut in the top with the damp sphagnum inside. They're going to track sand in and out of there. That's fine. I just replace the sphagnum whenever I have a fecal in there, or if I feel like I've had to wet it down a few times, it'll start losing its ability to hold humidity. I just put new sphagnum in then. So we talked about it in the quarantine video earlier, but paper towels and newspapers are probably the easiest thing to do when you're setting up quarantine. And that way you can see every fecal clearly. It's easier to capture it if you're trying to send a fecal off to the vet, and you know exactly what's going on with the animals. They love to dig, and so I prefer to have them on sand. So as soon as they're out of quarantine, I give them that sand. The problem with it is they can cover up a fecal. So if you need to see your fecals, you need to be keeping them on something other than the sand. The sand is great because it's a natural behavior for them to dig. Just as soon as they come out of the egg, they're trying to dig around. It's just ingrained in them. And so I like to see them do it. I also feel like they feel better if they've had a chance to dig. And it does keep their nails shorter. So you'll have to do less frequent nail trimming if you keep them on natural substrate. When you've got your Gila monsters on newspaper or paper towels, of course, you just throw that out when it gets messed up. When they're on the sand, you're not going to replace all the sand every time they poop. So I use a kitty litter scoop to get that stuff out of there. And then after they've gone through their winter brumation, I usually start with fresh sand for the year. Thanks again for joining us in the Gila Den. Next time we'll talk about something new, but for now, I'm sure you can dig this subject.
Dig it.